Now you can begin, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be in this group. Uh, I've taken a chapter on uh, recommendation of Shakti Ji. This is chapter 4 of the book, The Me and the Mind. As you can see this, Krishna is not talking to any visitor. He's basically dictating it all by himself. So that way, this chapter is a little different. And the theme of the chapter is the me and the mind. It's a short uh, passage. I'll just read it out and then we can share our understanding. We must understand the creator of time, the past, present, and future. For time is birth and death. The consciousness of time creates continuity, everlastingness, but it is not the eternal, it is not the timelessness. The creator of time is the self, the consciousness of the me and the mind, my property, my son, my power, my success, my experience, my immortality. The concern of the self over its own state creates time. The self is cause of ignorance and sorrow, and its cause and effect is desire, the craving for power, wealth, fame. The self is unified by the will of desire with its past memories, present resolutions, and future determinations. The future then becomes a form of lust, the present a passage to the future, and the past the driving motive. The self is a wheel within a wheel of pleasure and pain, enjoyment and grief, love and hate, ruthlessness and gentleness. These opposites are created for its own advantage, for its own gain, out of its own uncertainty. It is the cause of my birth, my death. Thought is held by the will of desire, by the will of self, but sorrow and pain begin their work of awakening thought, and if this awakening is not maintained, thought slips into comfortable beliefs, into personal fantasies and hopes. But if the slowly awakening thought begins to gently and patiently study the cause of sorrow and so begins to comprehend it, it will find that there is another will, the will of understanding. This will of understanding is not personal. It is of no country, of no people, of no region, no religion, sorry. It is this will that opens the door to the eternal, to the timeless. The study of the self is the beginning of right thinking, the self that is held in the will of desire. This self creates continuity for craving, for immortality, but with it comes the everlastingness of sorrow, pain, and the conflict of the me and the mind. There is no end to this save in the will of understanding, which alone dissolves the cause of sorrow. Become aware of the course of desire. Out of that awareness, there is born right thinking. Virtue is freeing thought from the me and the mind, for compassion, for the uncertainty that self desire creates. I think for the first time I read The Will of Understanding. I've never heard Krishna talking about will of understanding. So this is something unique in this passage. Now I leave it to all of you to think it over and come back with your uh, understanding or whatever you want to say. Okay. Yes, Harshad bhai. Please unmute yourself.
Hello,
Yes.
are you able to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It seems to me that the sense of me or I or mine, it's not restricted to human beings, but maybe in animals and birds also it exists. So I saw in Rajghat campus, there were two peacocks, and they were very good friends and always moving together. But then one of the peacocks got injured because of the thread during kite flying, and that peacock was not able to walk properly. And so the people were giving more attention to this peacock and feeding that peacock better. And then the other peacock, he felt very jealous and tried to disturb the peacock who was injured. And this I have seen in dogs also, that when you give attention to one dog, then the other dog will come and they will ask for attention from you. And we have seen a child playing with a toy, and 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 the child thinks that it is my toy, and you try to remove that toy, then the girl starts crying. And similarly, uh, they are also attached, we are attached to our dress, our name, our bank account, house, relatives. So all this exists in human beings much more, this sense of I or me or mine. It's like it comes, I feel, from language, from memory, and memory plus language combined together and form some sentences. And then we say, this is my house, or this is my dress, and so on. And this is very natural because of thinking, but it seems to me that in human beings, there is something else apart from thinking. And there is a kind of what Krishnaji uses the word will of understanding. There is a will of desire, which means thinking, which creates desire. But this will of understanding, it means looking without thinking at this sense of I or me. And when that will of understanding or awareness is awakened, then we can very clearly see how our thoughts are creating many, many problems in our life, like fear or anger or jealousy, all that. So initially, Krishnaji talked about the time. And there are two kinds of time, which is a chronological time, which is due to the rotation of the earth, which creates time by the watch. And then there is a time which is created by thinking. We think about the past and we think about the future. And our life is mostly moved in this thinking. And it seems to me that from that thinking can also come intellect, which can solve certain problems of designing a machine or a bridge, and mathematics problem it can solve. But the problems which are created by thinking itself, like fear, anger, it seems to me that those problems cannot be solved by thinking. So that is this will of understanding, the awareness to see clearly what thinking is doing. Then we can understand the whole mechanism. And when there is a anger is coming, we can see, yes, it is coming. And when it is seen non-verbally, then that anger may stop by itself, not trying to stop. But when this understanding is not there, will of understanding, then we create what should be. Like there is an anger, and then we try to be free from anger, or there is a violence and we try to be non-violent. Then there is a conflict between what is and what should be. And that happens in this plane of thinking. But understanding or awareness is something which acts without any effort on the problems created by thinking. And so this is what I understand. When Krishnaji wrote this in 1940s, I think he was still developing the right language. And at one time he had said that the maturity of expression will come in him much later, maybe after he was 50 years old or so. And so the later writings, like commentaries on living, I think they are much more clear and much depth, I feel, than this writing, which are in 1940s. Okay, I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshad Bhai. Thank you. I think once we realize the will of desire, which is, desire encompasses everything that we think about, which is basically a product of thought. The moment the mind realizes that the desire, which is the thought that is creating all kinds of issues or problems in our life, then perhaps there is a will of understanding. As Harshad Bhai just mentioned, realization that thought is not going to take us anywhere, then there is a deep understanding of the movement of thought. That is the state perhaps Krishnaji talks about. But I would like to hear from other people, Shakti ji especially. Vijay ji, Prashad ji, you're all welcome. Please join us. Yes, Prashad ji, please unmute yourself. Unmute. Yeah.
Sir, it is a short piece, but it is quite a tough piece to me. It's quite difficult to understand what exactly is meant. But the broad contours of Krishnaji's thinking we know. So, and Ashaji has explained quite clearly. And Dubey Sahab has hit the nail on the head by specifying this will of understanding. Because for me also, I never came across this expression, will of understanding, in any of the writings of Krishnaji. Sir, here, important thing is the concern of the self over its own state creates time. We are always concerned about ourselves, about our health, our financial health, our progress, all these things. Always worried about oneself. And that concern of the self is creating time. And he has also specified time is birth and death, the past, present, and the future. We are always living either in the past or worrying about the future. So, thinking itself is these are the building blocks of time, that is past, present, and the future. So always we are playing. I mean, not that we want to play, but the brain is always playing with these building blocks of past, present, and future. And this consciousness of time creates continuity, but it is not the eternal. So man wants immortality, but that is not the eternal. This is desire. Desire for continuity, desire for immortality is there in every human brain. But that is not the eternal or the timeless state. Krishnaji to me is always for the timeless. Somewhere he says, can you live in time, timelessly? Something like that. The two are placed in opposition to each other. Living in time and living timelessly. So, each sentence here deserves a commentary. Otherwise, we know the broad contours that he is talking of the self. Self is concerned always with its own state. It is caught in the grips of desire. Craving, desire being takes various types of desire, like craving for power, wealth, fame. And the self is unified by the will of desire. The self is built by the will of desire with its past memories, present resolutions, and future determinations. So always we can see the beauty of the language, and but the essence of it is that we are always concerned with our own state. The future then becomes a form of lust. The present, a passage to the future, and the past, the driving motive. I mean, leaving aside the beauty of the language, broadly, it means we are concerned with our own state and we live in time, always with the memories of the past and some New Year resolutions for the future, like that. And he says, this self, of course, is the source of sorrow. Thought is held by the will of desire, by the will of the self. But while there is a sorrow, there is also the awakening of intelligence. The sorrow and pain, they awaken thought. He says thought, which to me, it appears to be intelligence. So there is awakening of intelligence also sprouting out of this sorrow. But if this thought is not maintained, if thought is not properly guarded, it slips into comforting beliefs, into personal fantasies. So that creates all sorts of beliefs like reincarnation and all that. Any type of personal fantasies and hopes. But if this slowly, I am sorry I have to comment on each sentence here, because each sentence is pregnant and it means something out of the way. The slowly awakening thought begins to gently and patiently study the cause of sorrow, and so begins to comprehend it, it will find that there is another will. Of course, we have covered that. The other important point here is there is no end to this sorrow save in the will of understanding, which alone dissolves the cause of sorrow. So, the self is a source of sorrow, but it is the will of understanding which dissolves that sorrow. Become aware of the course of desire. Out of that awareness, there is born right thinking. If we remove the weighty language, what remains is that you become aware of your desire, and that is, from that awareness is born right thinking. Right thinking, virtue is freeing the thought from the me and the mind. Virtue is dissolving the me, dissolving the mind. I want Dubey Sahib to explain the last sentence, for compassion for the uncertainty that self-desire creates. This I am not able to understand. Sir, somebody like Harshaji or Dubey Sahib there, I shall be grateful if they explain this last sentence. Thank you, sir. But that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I think we'll come back to it, but let's share Lakshmiji first. She has raised her hand. Yes, Lakshmiji, please go ahead.
Sir, not Lakshmi, Durga, sir.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My apologies, my apologies.
No, sir, I'm not going to forgive you next time.
But I think it's the same thing in two different names.
Pardon? Pardon, sir?
The two names have no difference as far as I'm concerned.
No, sir, no. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, and Durga is the goddess of power and Shakti, whatever you call.
You need both anyway.
Okay, sir. In the end, God is one. Different names. God and goddesses. It's one creation. Yeah. Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. Yeah. Yes, sir. Like, the previous speaker, Prasad Garu, he stated, this book especially, I feel the extracts are so heavy and so weighty. In fact, I'm regretting that, I haven't yet owned this book, I'm going to soon get this book, in my library. Sir, the first paragraph, which we just wrote, the second one especially, if we just go by it, he says, me and mine. That is the cause for all the sorrow in the world. And I think if you look at the ancient wisdom or, that ancient philosophy, basically, I think we have been hearing all these things from our childhood, I don't know. I used to hear about these things, me and mine, that is the source of all conflict, all sorrow in the world. So that we have been hearing, but in this extract, Krishnaji has particularly emphasized the whole first paragraph, the second one especially. But the last part of the second paragraph, sir, that really, caught my attention kind of. He says the self is a wheel within a wheel of pleasure and pain, enjoyment and grief, love and hate, ruthlessness and gentleness. These opposites are created for its own advantage. So I think our minds are always caught up in these two, opposites all the time. If we have pleasure, we want to continue with that. If we have pain, we want to go back to the pleasure. We can think in those two aspects of our mental makeup. So it's a wheel within a wheel of and it's of opposites. And it says these opposites are created for its own advantages. These opposites are for its own gain out of its own uncertainty. I think that's what the basic ethos, I think, like the self and the thought, it wants certainty. Unless and until things are very certain, very prominent, we may feel, we don't stand anywhere. We may feel very confused. We may feel lost. So for that, we have to cling to something, thought and self vis-a-vis. So this particular point, they really caught my attention. It is the cause of my birth and my death. And again, this also again says, this is the wheel of cycle in which all the human beings are caught. They are born and reborn again because they're caught in this. And this is also part of the ancient wisdom. This particular sentence, this particular nugget of wisdom we have been hearing. And but second last part, thought is held by the will of desire, by the will of self, but sorrow and pain begin their work of awakening thought. This is very crucial, sir. This really caught my attention. And actually, we have heard Krishnaji speaking about awakening of intelligence, but here we find awakening of thought. Intelligence comes much later, but thought, when it starts understanding itself, when it takes pause, maybe that's how maybe it slowly starts opening up. So thought is held by the will of desire, by the will of self, but sorrow and pain begin their work of awakening. So when I think till the time we don't face sorrow and pain in our lives, I think it's part of human nature maybe. We don't usually turn our attention to all these deeper questions of life itself. So maybe in a way, we need to feel happy, or you can say sorrow and pain. Only when you face them, then only there comes a stop, there comes a pause in our lives for us to motivate us to think in different directions. So he stated that. But sorrow and pain begin their work of awakening thought. And if this awakening is not maintained, that's another again point, sir. A lot of people may feel sorrow and pain, may take, there may happen a pause in their lives. They may start thinking in the line deeper questions and issues of life. But if it is not sustained for longer time, if it is not nurtured for longer time, so that point is there, sir. If it is not maintained, what slips into comforting beliefs, into personal fantasies and hopes. So these are all very subtle to subtlest points. I feel, in a flow, he speaks so much, but I think we need to focus on all these things. So the awakening is not maintained. It has to be maintained also. And next, sir, but if the slowly awakening thought begins to gently and patiently, so those are the words, again, we need to keep in mind. Gentle and patiently study the cause of sorrow, and so begins to comprehend it. Now he's not using the self here. He's using the word thought here. The slowly awakening thought begins to gently and patiently study the cause of sorrow, and so begins to comprehend it. So definitely these issues are, it's not for the discussion's sake, these have to be seen practically in our lives. And he is emphasizing on these qualities of gentleness, patience, and maintenance, and all that. And then it will find there is other will, the will of understanding. You may call it, you can say that, we find that, things happen in life because there is a different will. The will of, we can say, call it destiny. We are all spectators in this vast drama of our life. So there is a different kind of a force which which acts in our life. And at the same time, we can't sit idle and we can't say that, everything is destined. So there is there's a catch there. So he says the will of understanding, and he's not giving the word which we are familiar with. He's not saying karma or destiny. He's saying the will of understanding. This will of understanding is not personal. It is of no country, of no people, of no religion. So in with the common awareness also, if we look into any culture, any religion, any nationality, people who suffer, and they all feel the same. The feelings are same. The emotions are same. So, and when you are so engrossed in your own self of me, mine, and all that, and when suddenly something happens and everything is snatched away from you, then you understand, there's some other force that works in life. It is not, you're not the master of your own life, or you're not, human being is not the master of is the universe and all that. So I feel providence gives this kind of shocks or bolts to the humanity to wake them up from this slumber. So that's what I have to say here, sir. So the will of understanding is not personal. It is of no country, of no people, of no religion. It is this will that opens the door to the eternal, to the timeless. I don't know. I can't say about eternal and timeless because we are not there, and anything is going to be a speculation. Whatever points that caught my attention, I thought I should share. That's all for the time being, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Durga ji. I think we can listen to Lakshmi ji now because she wants to say something. Yes, please go ahead.
Namaste to everybody. See, whatever passages are in this given, I am saying that me and mine. If you understand, this me is made up of the thought only. Thought is making the me. If there is no thought, there is no me. And if you question ourselves, what is this me? My own memories, my past experiences, my whims and fancies, my ideals, my desires, all this together, we say me. So, and another thing is, everything I feel mine, this is because of the thought only. And if I see in our life, any type of feeling, anger, fear, sorrow, if there is no thought, all these things are not there. Thought is only, and if we analyze thought is of the past only. Thought is not of the present. So in this given passages, seeing and listening. When we are seeing, always we remember whatever in the past, their names, and about the thing, whatever we are seeing. And we are only seeing our images, which are already made about them, and our concepts. Not only the things, the persons, everybody we are seeing with the images, but we are not seeing the facts. As a result, because we are always using thought, and thought is of the past. And the past is not able to see the present, and so conflicts are there. And we see this in our day-to-day life also, everywhere, how thought is bringing all the problems. If there is no thought, and thought is only making this me, and I, important, all these things. So when thought is not there, then thought understands that it cannot work in some places, like eternity or death. Thought cannot touch. Then it will be silent. Then intelligence will work. And the difference between the intelligence and thought is based on past. Intelligence is creative, ever new, and it works fully. And in intelligence, when the intelligence works, there is love. Even in our relationship, when thought is not there in relationship, it will be love. So the intelligence will use thought, that is different thing, as a weapon, as an instrument. And even with thought, then it is not full seeing. We are seeing our own images, our own concepts, our own past knowledge, but we are not seeing the scene. For example, a beautiful scenery I see in my house, and I feel it is very beautiful. Every day I think of that. I feel the beauty inside me, and with that image only I see the picture. And then whatever first I saw, that will not be there. So when I see without any thought, then I see the beauty. The same thing listening. When anybody is talking, we compare with the other speaker or with the knowledge which I already obtained from the books or my experience. And without all these things, then we listen. So that is full listening. And then why? That listening will transform then and there. We understand then and there. Without all these things, underground knowledge, but always we compare and we judge. So without any thing can we listen, and that is total listening. And in that way, we can see the reality. We can be in the reality. So that is what I understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakshmiji. I think you have explained very well. I only want to say that I don't know of that state where there is no thought at all, because I've not experienced that state. But many of us have experienced a state where even though thought is there, it doesn't interfere in our seeing things. So that stage we are aware. And at that stage, I think Prasad sir pointed out, that is a stage where we are able to see the desire. That is a state of awareness where we can see desire as it comes. And some people talk about it. I have experienced it myself. There is a very subtle difference between desire and wish. You know, wish, if it doesn't get fulfilled, doesn't bother us very much. But desire is so much attached to itself that its non-fulfillment brings all kinds of pain, frustration, and there is a total loss of energy if it doesn't get fulfilled. So if we are aware of the effects of desire, he says that is the beginning of right thinking. And he says virtue is freeing the mind of that state where me is desiring something. That is the state of virtue he's talking about. And that state will bring, as Lakshmi had mentioned, the intelligence. And Krishna is very clear what intelligence is. He said there is no intelligence without compassion. So compassion is the intelligence. That is the beginning of virtue. That's the way I look at it, sir. I would like Harshad Bhai to say something on this, and then we can go to the next.
Okay. Yeah. May I say something?
Yes, please, please.
Yeah. What I want to say is that the thinking, most of it is happening by itself. In the whole day, scientists say that there are about 70,000 to 80,000 thoughts comes and goes, and we are able to see very, very few. So we are not thinking, but thinking is happening. And when we are very curious, silent, attentive, we can see sometimes, we can even pick up the beginning of a thought, like one or two words, or the first two words of a song. When it comes, I can see, yes, something is coming, and it is not my desire to think about that song, but it is coming by itself. And so most of our thoughts are happening. But if we are curious, attentive, silent, we can see how it is multiplying. And other thing is that the difficulty here in this field of spirituality is that to understand thinking, to see thinking, one needs something which is different than thinking. And that what Krishnaji calls intelligence or awareness. So as long as that is not awakened, then thinking will go mechanically in our life, go round and it will multiply, and it will create many, many problems like fear, anger, jealousy, and very quick reactions. And sometimes people do a lot of damage to themselves and to others because they are not able to see clearly what this thinking is doing. So I feel that though we talk about awareness, intelligence, but actual operation of it in our daily life is very rare. And when it really happens in our life, we can feel the newness every day. When we look at the stars in the morning, or we can look sunrise, sunset, we can see the flight of the bird, we can see the leaf falling from the tree, or an insect moving on the ground. Everything is seen without thinking with this awareness. And that awareness, non-verbal, is the key to understand thinking, to see thinking, because scientists try to understand thinking through its effect on the brain. And what the scientist does, they just look at the neurons, how they are firing, but that is the effect. The real cause cannot be seen by the scientist, but a person who is very curious, who wants to look within oneself, can see it very clearly. And then the life becomes free from many problems which we create, like conflict in relationship is a big problem because we give so much importance to my idea and we try to put down the other person and we try to raise ourselves. And all this is happening mechanically in sometimes dialogues on Facebook and media, and it happens in politics and everywhere. So this awakening of awareness or intelligence is, I feel it is a very rare. And when it happens, the person feels that something new has happened in the life. And then a person becomes very curious to go into that state in which there is no thinking, but everything is seen very clearly, very beautifully. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Ashwin. I think Mr. Dinesh Wagmare wants to say something. Yes, Dinesh, please go ahead.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
3 points are of concern to me, which I want to explore with Harshad sir. Point number 1, is really time created by thought? Because time is just whatever we register. Those are the sequential recording of the events in life, whether it is a chronological or whether it is a psychological. So the point number 1 is really thought creating time? That is point number 1. Number 2, what is this will of understanding? Elsewhere, Krishnamurti has pointed out that there should not be any motive. So is this a motive or what? Because will, otherwise he has always denied. So will of, what is this will of understanding? 2. Third, it is very clear if we go through the para that basically is focusing on the self and the attachments and the me and mine created by the thought, in which the a person gets attached or he's get fixed in that, and he tries to, and that is why the pain is created and he wants to get free from it. So just by seeing without thought, as Harshad sir always repeatedly said, Just by saying, can one be free from this? Because already that stored up memory is there. So just by saying the stored up memory will be free. These are the 3 points.
Yeah.
Arshad, sir.
Yes. First, your question is, what is psychological time? The time created by thinking. So, like suppose you have a tooth pain, and then you find the time doesn't go very fast. And when you are very happy, 1 hour goes very fast. So that is the psychological time, which depends on the state of your mind. So if your mind is very happy, time just flies, and you don't feel any burden or tiredness, and you feel fresh. But suppose you are in a classroom, mathematics, and you don't understand mathematics, then you will keep on looking at your watch, and you feel that the time doesn't go, and you will be waiting when the bell rings. So the time becomes stretched out when you are not in the right state of mind, when you are not understanding something, or when you have a pain. Second one is the will of understanding. That is what I understand. The will of understanding is awareness, which is not thinking, but looking at thinking clearly. And in how the thought multiplies, how it creates problems in relationship. And that is a non-verbal will of understanding. And third thing, you said something about self. So thinking creates the sense of I, me, that is a self. And then out of that, the mind that this is my body, my house, my property, my money, my toy, that is an extension of this me. And this can be understood in silence when it is happening. So I think that our brain has the possibility to go beyond the intellect, because we are stuck, the modern human beings are stuck with intellect, and with intellect, they are trying to understand everything through thinking. But to understand thinking, one needs a different thing than thinking, and that what Krishnaji calls intelligence or awareness, silence. In that, whatever is unfolding in our mind, it can be seen clearly, and it doesn't create any problem. Even if there is a anger or fear coming, one can look at it, and when it is looked, it gets dissolved. So such possibility exists in our brain, in our human existence, but it is functioning in very, very few human beings who are very curious, passionate, attentive to look at how their own mind is working, not trying to understand other human beings and try to put down the other person, not like that. Generally, our mind works in trying to understand other human beings, trying to understand Krishnamurti. We cannot understand Krishnamurti. We can understand ourselves if we are very, very curious, attentive, and allow our attention to go inward. Okay, I have said enough things.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Pradeep Verma wants to say something. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I would like to, this is what I have understood, although I am using this word understanding and understood, without knowing whether it is will of understanding through or this and that. So this is how I have understood. The separation into me and mine is natural and universal and has a major role in human activity, leading to continuous exchange of matter and energy. This journey starts with survival and takes all types of colors during multidimensional growth. Man is endowed with reflective consciousness that gives chances to review our life that has actually happened through me and mine. No one is free from me and mine. How I share my me and mine makes all the difference. There's nothing wrong with me and mine. We all live in time, by time, chronological and psychological. Psychological depends on our longings, cravings, and desires. Suffering largely is psychological, which ultimately reflects in physiological disorders and diseases. Eternity and timelessness cannot be a tangible experience. Seeing and listening through attention promotes immediate action that may be owned by the self a little later. Awareness is in the present moment naturally. Right thinking may also be in the present only. This is the question, and this is a question to me, whether right thinking, because thinking is always associated with thought and past, whether right thinking, he has used the word right thinking, whether this must be in the present. This is, I'm only imagining. Will of understanding awakens when nothing else resolves the issue. It happens with an insight, spontaneously, almost timelessly. And this has happened to so many people who are working in research, exploring different things. Doesn't matter whether they are exploring so-called spiritual, known spirituality or otherwise, but whosoever has explored has seen this, that this happens suddenly, and you get that understanding, which is holistic. Thank you very much for giving me this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Varma Sahab. Thank you. We have Anandji. Please go ahead, Anandji.
Yes, sir. I mean, what I observe, sir, whenever we have these discussions and this meeting, it is all the time, we are in the becoming process, we are in time, we are looking for some answers. We never really seriously inquire. I'm putting the word seriously. We never really look into it. We are always caught in the words. Now, when he's also talking about the will of understanding, which is not personal, he's talking of will, then immediately, I get back to, it's pyramid thought, it's me and things like that. So even when I condemn the me, the myself, that thought, pleasure, when I condemn it, there's no understanding of it. When I see something beautiful, there's a lot of pleasure in me. There's nothing wrong with it. The moment I say I want more of it, I want it to see it again, then that's where the problem arises. When I see something beautiful, when I see something ugly, that's all there is. So when he's talking of will of understanding, which he says it's not personal, it does not belong to any one of us, it does not belong to the humanity, to any country, to any religion. He's talking about the will. Can I look at it as the humanity itself? So that is very essential, that how we get caught in words. I mean, we seem to understand only through words. He also says, can you go beyond the words? So can I listen to what he means when he says the will of understanding? It's not personal. The moment I talk about it, I begin to condemn it. So when I condemn, how do I understand? Can I understand is the question. The moment I condemn, I'm back to my conditioning, back to my likes and dislikes. bias and prejudices. Can I observe that is the question? Over, sir.
Thank you, Anandji. Thank you. Shakti ji wants to say something. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, sir. My voice is reaching, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wish to say two things. One is that when we read Krishnamurti, at least I read like that as if it is for the first time. And then we can perhaps see something which is there in between the lines. Another thing is that this will of understanding was very interesting for me because it would mean that when he is saying that will is not effective in becoming aware or thinking about something, we cannot decide things as it says. So in that way, it's a new thing. It's not the question of opposites. Because if he's saying that will has this problem, that means non-will. So this was interesting for me. And the last thing I would like to share is that it seems, I cannot say for sure, Harshad ji may talk about it, that the texture of thinking changes when there is unawareness. And when there is awareness occasionally, the thought has a very different texture. The quality of thought is different in awareness and in unawareness. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shakti. Ravi from Uttarkashi, please unmute yourself and say whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Very good evening to everyone. I'm trying to understand the difference between will of the self and will of understanding. I'm not clear about it, but I'm trying to guess it, that when there is a motive, there is a goal, and there is a conscious effort to get something out of something, then there is a will of self. The self is operating and trying to get something. And the will of understanding is that there is no motive, no goal. It's just curious to enthusiast to understand it. And there is learning. And when there is a learning, there is no effort. It's just observation and you are learning. I may be wrong. Harshad ji can put on the light on those two differences. Thank you.
Yes, you are right, Ravi. What you have said, that the will of desire, there is a motive there, and there are problems. But will of understanding is looking clearly at everything what is happening without any motive. So it is something like a choiceless awareness, which Krishna ji is talking about. That word came later, choiceless awareness. This was written in 1940s. And so Krishna ji was still developing his vocabulary in a proper way. And he had said that that maturity of expression will come after he had completed 50 years or so. So if you look at commentaries on living, I find the expression is very, very clear, very beautiful. But here in 1940s, Krishnaji is just trying to develop the language of expression, though he had the clarity, but it's the problem of using the proper language. Okay, so I finish. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Anandji wants to say something and then Mr. Pradeep Verma. Yes, Anandji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So when I talk about desire, sir, again, you see that I condemn from a background. I'm condemning it. Like I said, when you condemn anything, there's no understanding. And Kay also said, he gave an example of some sadhus and sannyasis walking on the road and he was behind them. They kept their heads down, chanting some mantras. They did not see the beauty all around. So immediately when we talk about desire, we condemn. Krishnamurti says, without desire, you're like a withered branch of a lovely tree. How do I understand all these things? The moment I condemn, I don't look at those words. I don't remain with those words. Even thought, me, mind, everything, the moment I begin to condemn, there's no understanding. When I condemn pleasure, there's no understanding. When I say no pleasure, there's no understanding. Can I see all the time I'm moving away from what is? Even the discussions when we are talking, we are looking for solutions. I won't say I'm right, you're wrong. Look at that. When I'm listening to you, you're interpreting what you're listening to me and then giving me a reply to it. I've moved away from what is. So when I talk about desire, there's nothing wrong. I'm within quotes, I'm saying, I don't see anything wrong with it. Can I remain with it and see the beauty of it? Krishnamurti did mention many a time, but I don't listen to him. What I like, what I dislike, immediately I come up with that. There's nothing wrong with thought. Without thought, what am I? Why am I condemning thought all the time? Without thought, I'm a waste. Probably they'll put me into a mental hospital. It is required. But there are something which is taking my thought somewhere, it does take a wrong turn. There's something I need to seriously look at it, not with the intention to correct it, not with the intention to say right or wrong. Can I remain with it? To remain with it, one has to be sensitive. We all say we are all sensitive human beings. I question, sir, we are not sensitive human beings. When I talk about insensitive, 99.9% people think, what is he talking? I'm a very sensitive person. The other day I saw a dog on the road which was suffering. I tried to help. These are our emotions. That has nothing to do with sensitivity. I saw a beggar, I helped him. So when I'm talking about these things, like Kay says, can you go beyond the words? That is very essential for us. Please let us not condemn. The me, the mind, my thought is me. Every split second, I'm protecting the me. At the same time, I say, I don't want it. Look at my contradiction. It is so stupid of me to say I don't want myself, which I'm protecting every second. Even right now, if you say something, I'm going to react to that. With all these discussions, all the time we are looking for solutions, we are analyzing, and we come with, with a motive, or we want an answer for all these things, a conclusion. We need to observe all this seriously, sir. The question is, am I serious? That is very essential. Over.
Thank you, Anandji. I think Mr. Pradeep Verma wants to say something. Yes, sir.
Yes. I request Shakti-ji to clarify a little more about the textural differences he was talking about, and who has seen that. The same person will see the difference. Who is there to see that difference, first thing, in texture? Another thing is when he reads, he said, he shared that when he reads Krishnamurti, read it as if it is for the first time. I extend it a little bit. When I read my book, I read it always as if I am meeting myself first time. So reading my book, each one of us, is very important, always available. So I will request Shakti-ji to elaborate on that point of textural differences. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep. Shakti-ji, can you say something?
Yeah. You see, sir, when I said texture, I just meant that because most of the time I am unaware, and there are occasions when I feel that I am not unaware, I am paying attention, I see that the way I think in unawareness is not the same way when I think when there is some awareness. That is what I am calling the texture. And this thing about reading Krishnamurti as if it is for the first time, this I have learned from Krishnamurti, because in some lectures he said that you must have heard it before also. Don't bring that here between this listening and this understanding. And I saw that it is possible with Krishnamurti. With oneself, it is very difficult because we have a history. One thing which happens, which is good, I think, that if I read Krishnamurti or listen to him like that, it is, I don't bring in, he has said that this time he has said something in a different way. Now he's saying in a different way. So it is as if now what he is saying, that's all. I will never listen anything else, or I have not listened anything else. Though that suspension is possible. Just that I wanted to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I think there is a total silence, so we can as well close it and let people think about what has been said. Arshad Bhai wants to say something. Yes. Unmute. Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Desire, the problem of desire, it becomes a problem when it is not observed clearly. And people indulge, like they like food, and then they eat so much, and then later suffer from stomach ache. So that's what happens. You see something, and then there's a desire to grab something which you like. Then at that time, that's clear seeing, the will of understanding or awareness is not there. It can create many problems in your life. So the desire, which is not observed clearly, will create many complications. But desire by itself is not a problem. When it is seen and one can move with it, and if one likes ice cream, one can eat ice cream, no doubt. There's no problem with it. But one must have not too much of it. That creates a problem when it is overdoing something, involving oneself in too much pleasure creates the pain. But pleasure in small quantity is fine with awareness. So right thinking also comes from this awareness. When there is this awareness, words comes out properly and without in a hurry, without any emotional content. But without this understanding or awareness or intelligence, one can get carried away by one's ideas and emotions, and then it creates problem in relationship, and the images are built about people, and the next time we see the person, we remember that, and then it creates many problems in relationship. So I would say that nothing is a problem as long as it is observed clearly, whether it's a desire or anger. When it is observed, it will go away. The problem is not having no clear seeing. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Arshad Bhai. Yes, Dinesh, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare, please go ahead.
Arshad sir, I just wanted to ask this will of understanding. is it not created immediately after one loses the energy when he is caught in pleasure and pain? He started losing the energy. Then this will for understanding, I would use the word rather, will for understanding is created, emerged automatically.
I don't know whether it is created automatically, but when there is a curiosity to look at the beginning of a thought, when you can have all the energy in the beginning with the curiosity, attentiveness, that's why Krishnaji says freedom is at the beginning. That how do you look? How do you listen? Because if the beginning is not right, then what will follow will be more confusion. So there is something in that, what Krishnaji is saying, that how do we do anything? How do we listen even to a person who is saying something completely opposite to what I am saying? Can I listen without reaction, without jumping in, without stopping that person? Can I listen? And that ability to listen, even unpleasant things, is real understanding, I would say. Okay, I finished.
Why I was asking, because one...
Dineshji,
let's say something, sir.
Let's hear other people, please. Let's hear other
people.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Pradeep Verma.
Yes, sir. Another little clarification from Harshadji about right thinking. Whether this thinking is similar to as a string of thoughts, whether thoughts are there, whether it happens in timelessness, whether past is also included in this. This is still not clear to me. Thank you very much, Harshadji. Please, a few comments on that.
May I say something about this?
Yes, please.
Yeah. See, this right thinking, it comes from clarity and silence. Like the way Krishnaji gives a talk, he doesn't know what he is going to say, but everything comes out in a proper way. Even when he's writing, I don't think he is writing something and making it and then again rewriting it. I don't think. Maybe initially he was doing that. But when there is a clarity, when there is a silence, thinking comes by itself in a straight way without creating any confusion. So, of course, in that kind of thinking, words are there, your knowledge of the language is there, but the self, that the me is speaking, or whether I am saying the right thing or wrong thing, such doubts are not there. Everything is coming by itself effortlessly. Okay, I will finish.
Thank you, Ashad. Thank you. Durga ji, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I hope I'm audible, sir.
Yes,
yeah, is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had to just say, there, like as we are discussing this whole extract, there are such valuable and weighty points. And in the same way, today's discussion also by a few of the speakers, they also raised very nice points. They shared their understanding, being sensitive about it, and yes, our thoughts are there. We just can't dissociate from our thoughts. It's a studying of oneself by oneself. Provided one is so touched, one is so deeply, curious. One wants to go so deep into these issues. So here I just would like to say a few statements. The last but two paragraphs, he says about right thinking. I think this can be an entirely different subject. Here, I feel Krishnaji has just touched the points and he hasn't gone so much deep into them. You know, we can take another session of what does it mean to be to right thinking at all. We may have an extract and then we can go into it. And he also says about virtue. You know, in whatever normal understanding we have of these definitions of these words, they are so different when they are being used by Krishnaji. Virtue is nothing but, you know, that deep desire inside to be free. That's also unless and until one has a deep desire. In fact, by one place he says the desire is important. If you don't have the desire to go deeper inside, you can't go. You can always be skimming on the surface only. The desire to be free, that is a virtue from me and mine. And who has to do that? The self has to do that. The self and the thought, these are the few things we are entangled with, and we are part of that. So this thing is very subtle and the subtlest of the journey. And he has given us a lot of tools. You have to be very gentle with it. You have to be very patient with this. And provided if you are so, and about the sorrow, and he says about the compassion, the ending of the sorrow is the beginning of the compassion. It is not that, you know, ending of compassion, again, you make a image of something like that. And again, if you start promoting yourself that you are a compassionate human being, then you haven't started journey as at all. That's what I feel, sir. The ending of me and mine is a beginning of compassion. That's that last statement. And these elements need to be studied in detail, I feel. He has just touched upon those statements, and how can that universal understanding sets in? Unless and until one doesn't go beyond me and mine, the universal understanding cannot set in. If you can read the text of, you know, Ending of Time, that is a very weighty dialogues between David Bohm and Krishnaji, where he says going from particular to the general and then to the universal. And this is a very intense and you can say very subtlest of the journeys. And there are so many deeper and deeper issues to Krishnaji's teaching. You know, somewhere he touches on surface his leaves, but he wants us to do the journey, wants us to probe into all of them, go into the depth of it. And there is enormous amount of literature. The books are there. If you are interested, provided. If you are interested to go into deeper things, his own texts are the enormous, books are there of his own literature. So read and apply. That's what the ultimate, that message that keeps coming to us. These are the discussions, very valuable discussions. That means we are keeping something alive in all these things. Krishnaji's teachings, we are keeping it alive in all these things. But listening to each other also, we are learning a lot of things. That's all I have to say, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Vijayji. Mr. Vijay
Chhabra. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Dinesh, if you want to say something, I don't know.
No, you please continue, sir. Please continue.
Okay. Well, some questions were coming to my mind. This understanding, that we have demand for understanding. When we are growing up, there are all kinds of desires, there are all kinds of dreams, all kinds of questions. And we are looking at life in a certain way, looking at all the contradictions, all the chaos, confusion, and there's a certain response and wondering, finding yourself in this world with all the chaos, and that's also getting reflected within. And in this, you want to make a sense of it. Now, this wanting to make a sense of it, I don't know whether, well, one can perhaps say there's a motive to get rid of the tension, the anxiety, the stress, all that is caused by the confusion. You want to make a sense of it. You want to comprehend this.
Vijay, you have lost your audio. Okay, we'll come to Vijayji later. Dinesh ji, please go ahead. We have about 5 minutes and 2-3 questions.
Yes.
So let's make it brief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, what I wanted to say, when I am a fully energetic, at that time I'm not bothered about whether me and mine and wheel of understanding and all these questions.
This was.
I think Vijay ji has joined again.
Yes, Vijay ji, please go ahead. Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Yeah.
We lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Somehow today it's been reconnecting number of times. I don't know what's wrong with internet. Anyway, so this one has my demands. One we do demand from ourselves something in different ways. Either it is in dealing with insecurities, so you demand certain kinds of security, certain models or patterns of security, thinking that that would resolve that. Or there is a just wondering, just thinking aloud, there are also larger demands in life, and demand for you call it truth, you call it comprehension of life, total comprehension of life. You have no clue what it means, but something in you tells you somehow whatever one is doing is a very small affair. Whatever is happening around one is a very somehow petty affair. Even looking for security is a very, very small affair. You can always do something and earn a bit, but that's a small affair. Something in you tells you that. And the what is that larger? There's a somehow demanding for understanding so that things fall in place. There's a sense that unless there's a certain comprehension, things don't seem to fall in place. You are always going from fragment to fragment. So there is certain awareness of that fragmentation. I'm looking back, it's just interesting. And then this demand was there for clarity. Perhaps one would express in this way, there's a demand for clarity. Now the question is demand for clarity and demand for security the same thing? Or these are two totally different directions, totally two dimensions? I'm just raising a question. I've been thinking about it, reflecting on it, that maybe the mind may figure out that demand for security is a very small affair. That it goes from one escape to another, which is petty. One feels that one may not be able to verbalize it, but somewhere one sees it. And then there is a demand for clarity, that instantaneously seeing things clearly, understanding for oneself, so kind of knowing instantly which way to go, what to do, because the brain takes time, and there is a life demands instantaneous understanding, instantaneous action, instantaneous response to challenge. So that demand is also there. So whether it's that demand that Krishnji is referring to in when he talks of will of understanding, which is universal, which is there, but it gets maybe sidetracked by these petty demands for security. Just wondering, Krishna would often say, we don't put ourselves real demands. We don't demand of ourselves something large. We are satisfied with small things, and when we think of bigger, then again it's more against probably in that same area of more solid security and more of this and more of that, which seems very different from clarity, demand for clarity. So I'm just raising this and reflecting on all this and sharing this in this way. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We have very little time now. We can just share Dinesh ji and close now. Dinesh ji, your last word.
I just wanted to point out one thing, sir. When I'm energetic, I'm not bothered about me, mine, or will of understanding and all the other things. But as soon as my energy is, I started feeling that my energy is low. Then I want to channelize my energy in a proper direction. And then I start thinking in this direction, what Krishna ji is saying and what others are saying. How can I channelize my energy in a proper way so that I can fulfill my desire and wills and all other things. So this energy phenomena has also to be looked after. That's what I wanted to say.
I think you have given your answer, Dinesh ji. When you have maximum energy, that is the time to explore life, not when you are low.
Low, right.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Prasad ji and Anand ji. Maybe next time we'll hear you again. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Thank you, Dubey ji.
Good night.
Thank you.
Modak, please close it.
Okay.